faces, and I hope when we finish the presentation, I want to see just as many smiling faces. How about that? Is that a deal? All right. Well, thank you for our special annual town hall meeting where we get the opportunity to present our budget for the upcoming fiscal year. My name is David Myers, and I have the pleasure of serving as your Chief Financial Officer. So I'll be presenting this afternoon, as well as Ben Uncle, who is our CEO and President. And actually, I'm going to call Ben off. I just want to get us started, but Ben is going to then take over, and eventually I'll come back and share some numbers with you.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Can you hear me? Is this on? Good, good. Well, it's good to be back here. I really am jealous of Tim. It's not on at all, okay? It just came on. Oh, I can hear myself a little bit. All right. Well, I'm jealous of Tim. He gets the pleasure of doing this mostly now. I miss being here. Glad to be here today. Tim is on some well-deserved vacation, and David and I have had the pleasure of working with him on creating this budget, as well as the Resident Finance Committee and the Board of Trustees and all the rest. So I'll get into our budget here. You know who we are. You can't hear over there. Did you hear me before I dropped my voice? You have it now? You want to do a test? 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me now?
We'll use the mic, Ben.
When I turn my head? All right. I don't know if I can YouTube.
How can I help you? Want me to click?
All right, I got 2 hands. Oh, that is better. We'll have to practice this next time before and get it tuned up right. But I don't know how I'm going to do with 3 things in 2 hands, and I'm clumsy before. But anyway, in case you didn't hear me, my name is Ben Uncle. I have the privilege of serving as your CEO for the last 13 years, and it's good to be back here in front of you, and I'm here to present this year's budget along with David Myers. All right, let's see. Maybe I'll put that one aside until I need the big laser pointer. All right, why do we do all this? We do it for joy and wellness. I'm a firm believer that engagement is the secret sauce to longevity and happiness throughout our lives. And it's easier to be engaged and it's easier to find purpose when you're in community. And so our job is to leverage the power of living in community to bring more joy and wellness. So here are a few pictures of us having a good time and cutting the ribbon to the new pergola. We keep investing in our current campus, as well as looking to expand for the Bay campus to pay for assisted living and memory care. But as you know, we're about to go through renovations in the East Tower. So I want you to understand that a lot of people would defer all that and save up the money for the new stuff. And we're committed to making sure that both of our towers stay new, exciting, and refreshed, not tired and tattered. So that's our commitment to you, and we're about that business every year. All right, so living the mission, a few things new this year, the Resident Hub, over 5,000 logins every month. So you all are using the heck out of that, and it's great, and I hear lots of people enjoying it. Recently, the digital signage has been added. I just saw 2 signs over there and around the community so that you can look at the TV screens and see what's going on around campus that day. We've undergone renovations in our Welcome Center. It had begun to look, in my mind, like Checkpoint Charlie during COVID. And it looked more like a military fort than a welcome center. And so we spruced it up. We have people standing, smiling, and waving as you come in. If they don't stand and smile and wave, let us know, and we'll give them some coaching and some training to make sure that we create a great first impression for all of your guests. We've done Rise Against Hunger, lots of things this year. Here's just a picture of investing in the lounge area. This is the Penthouse East Tower Lounge, old and new. I think we call it our game room up there. So continuing to invest in refreshing the community. A couple of department highlights during the year. How many of you knew we served almost 500,000 meals in a year? 417,000 meals in the year. And your average Happy or Not score has been 92, which is good. Information technology, your fellow residents, the WC Geeks, their name, not ours, have won an award with McKnight's, the Gold Award for Excellence in Technology. McKnight's is a senior living publication, and they help on average 40 people per month with the computer problems that are beyond connection. We connect you for free, but we don't fix your computer for free. The geeks fix your computer for free, and I'm told by residents that I know and love that it's easier to have a fellow resident come in and talk to them about computers than somebody young like their grandson or some of our people trying to explain about computers. So thank you for pitching in and helping. Our Hoy Center remains 5 stars overall, and it's been 5 stars all 13 years that I'm aware. And that is quite rare. That's in the top 10% of nursing centers across the country. So when you bought here, you bought quality. We deliver over 5 hours of nursing care per patient day. Around Virginia, the average is only 4. We deliver 20% more hours in direct care to you. And we have 0 temporary agency staff coming in. And I haven't heard of a nursing home in Virginia in the last year that hasn't used agency staff except for us. So we've worked hard to keep the pay rates competitive and to advertise our jobs just as effectively as we advertise our apartments, and to get new and creative ways of bus messages, whatever it takes to get out to people to advertise that this is a different place to work and worth sticking with us. And of course, your generous scholarships help with the dining staff. Hoy Center only had 2 deficiencies that they could find in our annual inspection. It had been 3 years since we were inspected in a surprise inspection courtesy of the taxpayers. The government came in and inspected us. We had 2, and the average for this region is 14 in the Hampton Roads region. Okay, well, you could ask what were they in the health committee. I heard somebody say if you want to go to the health committee, Tim or our administrator, Julia, could certainly delve into that if you'd like. Birdsong Clinic, Happy or Not score is 99%. 5,673 visits to the Birdsong Clinic. You're happy. Your overall happiness score on a rolling 12-month average from We Care Connect is 86, compared against the blended score of 82 for 1,200 other life plan communities across the country. So we're glad that you're happy living here. We aim to be preeminent. Sales and marketing is blowing the cover off the ball. Demand remains strong for our product and what the ministry that we provide to people. We have over 40 projected move-ins this fiscal year against a budget of 38. $10 million in new early advantage entrance fees are been collected. That's the best thing going. And $300,000 in forecasted monthly fees, which helps reduce, that's about 1% of your fees that are coming from other people. That would have been an extra fee increase this year if we didn't have early advantage. Now, early advantage, we track the usage, about 50 meals a month, and we track the exercise usage. It is not taxing us at all. Tim has a great slide I saw him present at a different conference that said the average Planet Fitness location has about 6,000 members and 300 users in the month. How do you get into that? 6,000 people paying for 300 to exercise. That's what we're doing with Early Advantage. Not a lot of people are using it. We appreciate the people that do. They come to our classes, they enrich our community, but it's not a burden on us, and they're paying 1% that you would have otherwise paid this year in monthly fee. Best deal going. New tower is knocking the cover off the ball. A outside firm, rarely do senior living communities market a major expansion themselves with in-house staff. A greenfield, whether it's a new campus or a major addition, most people hire outside consultants. We got bids from people. They wanted $3-4 million to help us sell it. We did it in-house, added a sales counselor and a little bit more marketing budget. And we were told by the expensive out-of-towners that they would use our money to get us to the point where we could go to the bond market, 70% deposits, in 18 to 24 months, and they'd have to spend all this money on country club events in Baltimore and Washington and all the rest. Ashley and her team are on track to do it in 12 months, 6 months earlier than the outsiders' earliest predictions. 18% of the depositors come from further away than Williamsburg. We haven't had a country club event yet. The power of our website, the extra things we did on our website, like taking GPS photographs out of every imaginary window at the exact location, superimposing that on the virtual tours, ramping up all that PR stuff, drove up our Google natural search results, and all of that has worked to do distance marketing, plus some strategic, inexpensive distance marketing where we targeted people with a beach house in the Outer Banks and a house in Richmond. And so we targeted those people digitally for ads that come up on Facebook and other places when they're online, and that's fairly cheap. So without even trying hard, we have 18% of our deposits from further away than Williamsburg. Now, I love selling to Virginia Beach people the best, but if it ever did slow down, if the economy changed, it's nice to know you have that dial and that we're attractive to people all up and down the eastern seaboard because we've got a very rare commodity, sand in our front yard. And people who like sand in their front yard, you know, when you retire, you don't want to downgrade to the extent you can avoid it. And so if you have a beach house, you don't want to give up the beach. And a lot of why the Bay Tower is selling well is people have waterfront homes and they don't want to give up a water view. And so they're willing to pay that to live in the Bay Tower. So that'll help us into our future and makes us more secure. Expansion beyond the Bay campus. Emily, stand up for a second. Emily is our community manager at Opus Select. She's the friendliest, most smiley person you'll ever want to meet. She's terrific. And under her leadership, together with Tori's guidance, when we took over in April of last year, we had 45 unrented apartments out of the 172. Last week when I checked, we were down to 1 apartment available and 8 were on the waiting list for particular floor plans. That's amazing. It's doing very well. Renewal rates are high. Residents are happier than their counterparts in adult active living communities, 94% versus 82%. And we earned 3 move-ins to the Bay campus from people who wouldn't have considered us otherwise, but got to know us through Opus. Count up those entry fees in your mind. And this year, they're stable enough and doing well enough that they will pay the Bay campus $245,000 for management fees. About $130,000 is in 1% of your monthly fees. So here's another time where I'm mentioning something creative, something new, something different that takes a % off your monthly fees. Thank you, Opus Select. Senior options, we're up to 14 partners across the nation. We manage for 7% of their gross revenues, home health and hospice agencies for other retirement communities around the country. It's a quiet growth, but a steady growth. And we just got a new system with multiple campuses based in St. Louis who tried to do it on their own and were flailing. We're out there and we've already impacted their numbers. When we first did this, we did it in Harrisonburg, or what's that called out there in Virginia? It's Harrisburg. Harrisonburg's in Pennsylvania. 3 retirement communities bought a home health agency and proceeded to lose cash in it the next 2 years. Their board said, make cash or shut it down. That was our first client. They hired us. We had them in positive cash flow in 6 months and positive P&L statements in 6 months. And that's when we started to get into the business of helping other retirement communities run their home health and hospice agencies well. So in case you were confused, the fiscal 24 budget ends in 24, September 30th, 24. That's why it's called the 24 budget, but it really starts in October. And I just want to take a moment to also thank our very hardworking resident finance committee for your advice and collaboration. They've been with us from the very beginning of the process through the end to even helping us with these slides in terms of explaining things in a clear manner. This is very rare among retirement committees. I know of no other that does it the way we do it. We collaborate with residents to such an extent that your finance committee pairs off in twos like Noah's Ark and goes out and visits the department heads, and the department heads have to present their expense budget to the resident finance liaison that's assigned to them before I even see it. So residents are in the formation of the expenses to run this community before David and I and Tim ever see it rolled up. And then goes through your finance committee up to us, the executive director, CFO, and CEO. Then it goes to the Board of Trustees Finance Committee, and the Board of Trustees met yesterday to approve the budget. And then we have our resident town hall. The only other place I know where residents are anywhere close to this involved in trying to help us control and manage expenses and revenues, plan the right revenues and prices the right way, is if it's a resident-owned community. And there are a few of those around where it's a resident co-op-owned community, and people, of course, can decide to live there. We have one right down the street, Atlantic Shores, that's completely owned and run by its residents. Okay. Budget principles. Here's the things that we do every year and the order in which we do them. First question, where can we cut? Where can we reduce spending? We re-examine programs to see if they're still working and still worth keeping. We look for whether we can staff the programs more efficiently and reduce staff to deliver those services. What new efficiencies can we find in those services? And then we aggressively seek new revenue opportunities. Don't tax you, don't tax me, tax that fellow behind the tree. You've heard that? Well, we're doing a lot of finding other fellows to tax to share the burden of our overhead expenses and our monthly fees with Early Advantage, Senior Options, Westminster at Home, and Opus is helping us as well. So we're trying to be creative because we know, look, all of you in this room spent six figures to get here. 95% of you spent six figures non-refundable. That's a lot of power shift, right? You can't easily leave. And so we know that, and that's what inspires us to work really, really hard to make sure that the monthly fees, that we don't treat you like a trapped audience and sit around and eat bonbons and just let inflation go wild here. We really do try to be creative in both expense cuts and revenues to do the right thing for the right reasons. And then we raise fees only after all the other steps above are exhausted, and we will not pass the buck to a future year. We will not leave an Easter egg for somebody else to deal with and raise prices dramatically because we didn't pay as we went, and we saw something down the road that we didn't set aside money for as we should have. That is no fun. Been there, done that, have the t-shirt. This is a tremendous advantage of living at Westminster Canterbury on Chesapeake Bay. Because we have these side ministries, it gives you the rare, very rare opportunity to live in a retirement community that breaks even on its operations. The cash, this is a cash metric, know that funny depreciation and funny business about P&L statements and GAAP this and GAAP that. This is cash. Every year, your monthly fee is determined mathematically. When we look at the expense budget, we say how much cash will it take each month to run the community, times 12, and how much do we expect to collect from existing residents for their monthly fees and their ancillary fees, like the extra things, transportation and all of that. Those two have to equal. So you paid your entry fee once, and you paid it when you thought it was a good deal for your house. All that money is over to the board to use as they wish and to manage on our collective behalf in running a church faith-based ministry. But out of your monthly fees from here on out, so far in the recent years, we've had the luxury of just breaking even. Meaning you don't have to worry about is my monthly fee going to hospice house, because there's none left. The cash you give us each month is spent serving you and designed to break even. That's a luxury. That's a big luxury. The finance markets and the capital markets would rather have us make some money on our monthly fee, because what if you have a real estate recession, you don't have as many entry fees coming in? So they would rather us raise your monthly fees a bit higher to be making extra cash on our services too, generated cash. And I'll point out here that the, in case you're worried, the expansion-related extra spending, we deducted from that break even. So we will be losing some cash on services this year because the GAAP people force us to count marketing expenses for the new Bay Tower in our cash analysis. So we didn't make you pay for that. We took it out. So we'll actually be negative this year, but only negative because of the operating expenses, okay? Related to the new Bay Tower, the marketing expenses. So where do you get your extra cash then? We'd like you to have something in the savings account. We'd like you to have a cushion. Here are the two ways. We get cash from the entry fees that come in and that stay with us. Very few choose refundable. Normally we would call it net entry fees. The entry fees that come in minus the ones we refund. But so few are refundable. It's really entry fees here. So that positive cash flow comes in, and that's what pays our debt payments, our mortgage payments, and all of our capital and building improvements. That's paid for by future residents out of their entry fees. The next thing that generates cash is home and community-based services, Opus Select, and the returns on our investments. Those are the ways we generate cash, not through your monthly fees or your ancillary fees. And the ability to generate surplus cash that's sufficient to fund our CapEx and other needs that are paid for from future residents and other people off campus, tax that fellow behind the tree, is a tremendous advantage that we've achieved for you over the last several years. Okay, so what's going on outside that we can't control, that we have to deal with? You're reading the papers, you know that inflation is leveling off, but it ain't what it used to be still. It's coming down, but it's still significant. Wage inflation is still out of control. The nuclear arms race for nurses is very, very difficult. Cooks and in dining, places where you see it, wages keep moving. Employee benefit costs are increasing due to rising pharmacy costs. All these new drugs are wonderful, but when they're new and they first come out, there's a monopoly on them until you can do a generic, and you're paying for the cutting-edge drugs, and so are our employees, and that cost continues to rise. I would point out that about 10 years ago, we went self-insured on our health plan, and that's a card that's already played. We've played it, but if we were to pick it back up again and reverse that decision, we still are saving $521,000 every year because we went to self-insurance for our employees. Wind, hurricane insurance, I'm going to spend a slide on that. This year, all the insurers decided to make up for Florida's hurricanes by trying to raise prices all in 1 year. And we said, no, thank you. And I'll explain that in a second. Okay, so last year, all of our property insurance only cost $500,000, $505,000. This year, they wanted for less coverage $1.4 million. Look at that delta if it had gone to your monthly fee. About $900,000, 3% more on top of this year's fee if we played ball that way. So we did a lot of creative digging, and we said, show us the damage estimates that you send to the reinsurance market. So you have your first layer of coverage, and then they sell out reinsurance to Lloyd's of London and places like that. Tell me what the big guys are seeing as to the real risk that they're betting on for hurricanes in Virginia Beach. And to my amazement, we found that the average predicted storm loss for a hurricane that comes once in 100 years is only 1.7 here, $1.7 million. Now, we did a lot to bring that number down. We have these logs around our expensive equipment and paint to stop the water from coming in key areas. But only $1.7 million is what the Lloyd's of London people would estimate is our damage in a terrible 100-year storm. All right, let's go to a 1,000-year storm. Worst storm in 1,000 years. The estimate is that our damage would be $33 million. If you average the frequency against the expense, the average forecasted annual loss, if the hurricane came the same amount every year, and you spread it out over 1,000 years, that damage, I don't know if I said that right, but the average loss is only 148,000 from hurricanes. If you got 1,000 pieces of that 1,000-year storm every year, for which they were happy to charge us $885,000 for wind coverage. That's a good business, isn't it? So we said, no, thank you. We have $54 million in our savings. Not bad. And the board voted to take $6.5 million of that and create a new storm reserve self-insurance fund so that we can give you, current residents, monthly fee relief for not having to buy wind insurance. That's the reward for being stable and being able to build cash, is that we can afford to self-insure and not be held captive to these unreasonable fluctuations in premiums when the insurance market goes through fits and wild swings. So we dropped wind coverage for next year, and that was unanimously endorsed by your resident finance committee and by the board. So sometimes the dog didn't bark is the big news. That's a cost avoided, and that's big news. That would have been another 3%. All right, another cost avoided. During COVID, we got spoiled. Medicare dropped its 3-day hospital requirement, and we didn't have many outsiders while the virus and the bug was going around. Not many people were getting knees and hips, so we filled up with our own residents, and we didn't bring in many home health workers, and people got used to going to the Stone Center, whether Medicare covered it or not. Well, in May, the COVID emergency was declared over, and Medicare started all of its speed bumps and restrictions for when Medicare pays for your recovery. And the question became, do we continue to spoil ourselves by letting every life care resident make their own choice? Gee, would I like to go to Stone, or would I like to be at home with home health? Insurance covers one, but it doesn't cover the other. Now, I always thought you all wanted to be home with your own pillow and your spouse. But Torrey built such a nice nursing center that a significant number of you say you'd rather be in Stone. We can't afford to give you that choice anymore. The reason we can't afford it is we calculated the Medicare revenue we're losing that when we use that bed for life care residents for free, and it's about $1 million or 2.81% of the monthly fee if we don't go back to our original contract and our original policy that we had before the emergency. Now, your contract says you get life care when Westminster decides you need to be in the Hoy Center. Well, if you have home health that's covered by the government and insurance, you don't really need to be in the Hoy Center. That's a waste. It's Medicare money that would otherwise be helping keep the monthly fee low, and you do have Medicare coverage at home. Now, if you are rolling in it and you want to go to Stone, you can, but your neighbors wouldn't subsidize it. You can go to Stone and you can pay the Medicare rate in Stone out of your own pocket, and you can recover in Stone if that's your choice. Okay? Another, the dog didn't bark. That would have been another 2.1. We didn't think you wanted us to change our contract and cover this because you didn't like 6% for a whole AL memory care building. We didn't think you'd like almost 3% for a small group of people to have the choice to reject home health and go to Stone just because they like Stone better. And your finance committee unanimously agreed with us, and the board agreed with us. We're going to go back to our old contract, our current contract. Okay, I think it's time for David. You've heard enough from me for a while.
Wow, Ben, you did a great job and got an ovation, so that's fantastic. Hopefully I can do just as well. So let me unpack some of the major drivers that's impacting your FY24 monthly fee increase. Of course, anytime you put a budget together, there's unfavorable factors and there's also favorable factors. So what's going on that's unfavorable? Well, wages are up on $2.1 million fiscal year over fiscal year, and that's what I'm comparing here. Our supplies and other expenses are up close to $480,000. Our utilities are up $272,000 as compared to last year's budget. On the FY24 utility budget, we reached out to outside consultants to help us prepare that budget. So we used their analysis when it came to rate and volume to predict what we need to budget for FY24. Our food costs are up $214,000. But really, it could be more because we were able to save 1% by renegotiating our vendor rebates. We talked about employee benefits. They're up $151,000 as compared to the FY23 budget. Ben talked about rising pharmacy costs. Also, because we're 1 year further away from COVID, we're finding that more of our employees are going out and utilizing some of their health services, seeing doctors and things like that, things they might have put off during the COVID years. And as well, like Ben spoke about, it is cheaper to still be self-insured, and we're able to save an annual savings about $521,000. And we also have some favorable factors as well. So you'll see that revenue for ancillary services, such as dining, catering, resident, outside costs as well. They're up $151,000. Ben talked about how we have cost savings by sharing some of our overhead expenses with our outside businesses, home and community-based services, and Open Select. And revenue from directing our outside neighbors into our enhanced services and Hoist centers produced $898,000. And just as a reminder, we only admit outside guests or neighbors when there is room available. Oops. Let's go back. Got a little happy. So what does this mean to you as far as your monthly fee increase? It's probably really why you're here in the first place. So thank you for sitting through everything else. But for those who have seen this before, you kind of know the drill. For those that are new, just remember what goes up must come down. So don't be shocked by some of the increases that you're seeing. So first reminder I want to say is a 1% increase in your monthly fee generates about $338,000. So just to pay for our labor, $2.1 million, we will have to increase your monthly fees by 6.33%. When you layer on top of it supplies and other expenses, we get to 7.73%. On utilities, add another 8.5% to your total. Food costs, you're getting up to about 9% of an increase in your monthly fee. And then when we have to put in employee health insurance, that takes your monthly fee to close to 10%, 9.6% increase for FY24. This would be the fee increase that we would need to continue to provide you preeminent services that you have become used to and that you deserve, to be honest. However, once again, what goes up must come down, so we have some favorable things as well. So we're able to decrease the monthly fee increase by 0.45% due to new revenue opportunities like dining, catering, increase in weddings, and open select as well, dining. Here's a big one right here. So when you add in the overhead contribution and sharing costs with outside ministries on like Open Select and home and community-based services, that drops your monthly fee by 1.93%. And big one here once again, direct admits to our Stone Rehab Center and enhanced services allows us to decrease your monthly fee increase by close to 2.52%. So when we add in all these favorable factors, your increase that we're budgeting for FY24 is 4.7%. Here. So effective October 1st, your monthly fee increase will be 4.7%. Okay? Less than last year, right? Thank you. So this is one of the things, sometimes the slides don't always come over correct, but basically, in the long run, our fees have to increase each year to match the internal prices of things we must buy, such as labor, energy, insurance, food, and etc. Or the other thing we have to do is cut quality, and one thing that Westminster Canterbury is known for is the quality. So that's one of the things we don't want to have to do. Once again, I do apologize for the slide and the way the numbers came over, but as you can see, just consider each one of those as a percentage. So the first full decade, you looked at roughly about 5%. 2010 through 2019 is like 3.78%. FY20, we did a 4.81%, 21, 4.2% increase. For those who was here for FY22, I remember getting a standing ovation for that year. And believe it or not, I got a lot of hugs and kisses as well. I probably shouldn't say that, but I did. So that year was 1.35%. On FY23, we know what happened there with inflation, wages, and things like that. So we had to budget 6.54%. And like I said, for FY24, our budget for FY24, once again, at 4.7%. Once again, I apologize for the quality of this slide. So what does this mean? Well, we're still a great value, okay? So this year, I'm talking about fiscal year 2003, for every $100 that you spend on your monthly bill, others' monthly bill is $101.48. So you save $1.48 per every $100. For next year, our number is $104.70 with a 4.7% fee increase, estimating an average fee increase of 5.78% based on a CFO poll, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. I speak to a lot of CFOs who work in life plan communities, and we share a lot of information and things like that. So there's about 24 in our group. 13 responded saying what they're going to budget for the upcoming fiscal year. And I have a slide to share with you to share those numbers. And so that's how I came to that $107.34. So their fee increases are anticipated to be even higher for their upcoming budget year. Now, like I said, 13 out of 24 reply. This is just a guess, but I'm assuming that others were too ashamed to share their numbers. Okay, so here's a breakdown of those who were brave enough to share their numbers. You'll see that our organization, once again, 4.7%. There was one, and when I say targeting, that means they have not completed their budget yet. When you see their actual numbers, that means they have completed their budget, and that what was approved by the board. So there was only one community that's really targeting less of a monthly fee increase than ours, especially you take the averages of those who have not completed their budget right now. For those who have completed their budget, we beat each one of them as far as, and when I say beat, our monthly fee is less than theirs. So this is my way of saying we put a lot of effort, time, blood, sweat, and tears, I guess, and try and keep your monthly fee as low as possible. So at this time, we'll turn it over for any questions that you may have. Yes. Good question.
Yes, thank you. So the question is, what does self-insurance mean for your health care? So if we were to go to Optima and say, insure all of our employees, they'd give us a premium, and we'd know exactly what that is. And if our people were sicker, they would lose money. They never do. And you'd have level payments, right? That's traditional. You go to an insurance company, you pay them to take the risk at a fixed premium. We said, no, we'd rather take the risk ourselves. We hire a third-party administrator, Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem, still processes the bills. They still give us the discounts that they've negotiated with pharmacies and doctors. But we pay basically a percentage to them, which is far less and cuts out all the profit that the traditional insurer would be charging to bet our costs are going to be the same every year. Does that help, or was that too complicated? Instead of Blue Cross and Blue Shield betting, just charging us a fixed premium and betting as to what they're going to spend, we say, no, we'll pay all the money. We'll pay the money if people are sicker, but you're not going to have a big buffer zone that you call your profit. We want to pay it directly. We'll pay you, I don't know, 3%, whatever it is. It's been a while since I looked at it, for processing our claims. But we keep the wins and the losses of whether people are sicker next year or not. You don't have to worry about betting as to what it's going to be. We pay whether they're sicker or healthier, and we just pay you a processing fee. If you use their assets, they call it, if you use our paper, their credit and all the rest, and it's a fixed fee, they bet high and then add in their profit on top of that. And that's how we save $521,000 a year here. Okay. Oh, next question. Going once, twice, 3 times. Have a great weekend.